Thank you. Welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting, January 16th, 2026, and it is 7:01 p.m. Thank you all for being here, braving the elements that are out there. You're ready, dressed warm. I hope, and for all of you that are online, that are staying warm and toasty at home, I thank you for joining us. Prior to tonight's board meeting, the board entered into executive session to discuss real estate matters. So now let's go to the first item on our agenda, which is to review the agenda. Any additions to the agenda? Thank you. Let's review.
There's a typo on the agenda. I had the wrong
sorry.
date. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It should be, today is January the 20th. I prepared it on the 16th. My apologies.
Okay. Thank you for that edit.
So many times too.
Any other edits?
No, I'm good.
Revisions to the agenda?
Pretty good picture in
Okay,
there.
let's go to
No.
a review of the minutes. Thank you for your timely submission. Alex,
Motion to approve the minutes is submitted.
thank you, Gus. We need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, John. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to public input. Seeing no public in the digital world or in the physical, in the three-dimensional world, we'll come back to that. And now let's go to the CEO office. And I will pass the baton to you, Alyssa.
Thank you, Dr. Columba. Good evening, everyone. A few updates out of the CEO's office tonight. First, I do want to brief the board and also the public that is watching tonight that Roberto Clemente Charter School has been designated for targeted support and intervention or improvement again from the Department of Education. This is a designation that we had last year as well, and we were anticipating this designation again based off of our standardized testing results from the 24-25 school year. So those being the PSSA and the Keystone results. So even though this was anticipated, it is still a serious reminder for us of the continuous improvement that we need to demonstrate in the areas of teaching and learning. Our principals will continue to brief the board on the improvements and the progress that they are making at the board or at the building level, excuse me. And I'm happy to highlight some of the work that I've been leading over the past month since the last board meeting in my report going forward.
Yeah, the TSI, is that quantified? Do they quantify that requirement, or they just say you gotta improve? Which is.
There are designated state measures that you are expected to demonstrate progress towards.
Okay.
Yes, so for achievement, we were, like we had briefed the board, we were around 10% proficient for our combined math and ELA. I believe right now the measure at the state level for combined is, gosh, I want to say in the 30s or the 40s. So there's some work in progress that needs to be made to get us closer to approaching those measures that are defined from the state, yes. And again, TSI is locally managed. We don't have a representative from the state that's assigned to our school to work with us. We have to submit a plan every September showing the improvements that we are going to make as a school, the areas of focus that we will prioritize over the past school year. And last school year, during the February board meeting, we approved our comprehensive plan, our 3-year comprehensive plan, which speaks to some of those defined activities that we're working towards.
And then do we internally track how our improvement is? As you said, so we had the PSI last year,
Mhm.
February, as a board, we approved measures and steps.
Yep.
So do we then, we internally then tracking our progress and then we're working towards meeting those, meeting goals or guidelines?
We are, so from the achievement standpoint, the principals report out on their benchmark data, which is those direct quarterly touch points that we have with how our students are performing. From a growth standpoint, that's an annual marker too. It's a little bit harder to keep tabs on. But again, that can be easily measured from marking period to marking period. Are our students demonstrating improvement in those core subjects? English language proficiency, we're having that targeted professional development this year at all levels to support our teachers and meeting the needs of students who are still developing their English proficiency while still learning math and the English language as well. And then regular attendance, that's a new point for us where we were designated for TSI, specifically our students with disabilities. So we've been working, especially at the middle and high school level, to be much more intentional and communicative with parents about attendance, trying to break down and identify those barriers about why our students aren't coming to school, what creative supports we're gonna need to put in place to make sure our students are attending, and also following through with, state compulsory law. It's hard to take a parent to court for attendance, but it is a required step that we do need to take sometimes, so. So yes.
Surprisingly, because usually when we get our reports,
Mhm.
and we usually define ourselves like at 90%.
Yeah, so it's specifically for students with disabilities, which is it's only about 10% of our student population. And what regular attendance means is our students attending 90% of the school year. So it's a pretty high threshold to meet the marker that the state has. So that regular attendance point is specifically for that subgroup of students only.
Did we triage, any issues we had last year or previous years, worked with them, like what's the primary cause, secondary cause?
That's still a work in progress because to see that indicator was a surprise for me because like John, you just mentioned, our attendance is relatively high for, a school in the city of Allentown. And it's a point of pride that we have that our students come to school and our families send our students to school regularly. So because it is such a small subgroup of students, while we haven't done a formal exercise to triage those barriers, we're able to identify those families and work with them directly. And there are unfortunately some cyclical barriers that come up, and it's some patterns that we notice from year to year that are very difficult to break down and to get those students to school. Yeah.
My first guess would have been transportation, but I guess that's,
Well, that is a barrier. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been my first guess.
Mhm.
Outside of that, if you're talking about disabilities, it could be the varying help with the various students that you have. And how that it changes you.
Absolutely. We definitely have students, and if we're thinking about the 24-25 school year, students with chronic health conditions, hospitalizations, all of that impacted that indicator as well. Yeah. So I think actually I do know more to it than what I initially led on to, thinking about that in retrospect right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So knowing that we need to make improvements in teaching and learning, at the education committee meeting last week, I did present for our first reading at the committee level, it's not being presented to the board tonight, a framework for curriculum review. So how are we looking at our subject areas and how are we routinely identifying what resources, what teaching and learning strategies are working best for us so that we have consistency K-12. We know that having consistent instructional approaches, consistent materials and resources are important for our students. And having a framework for curriculum review will provide a routine multi-year process for us to look at. So for example, the proposed framework has us looking at our ELA curriculum this year for possible implementation of a new curriculum, especially at the secondary level for the next school year, revisiting our math resources, our social studies resources, every few years so that they're constantly being revised and reviewed for impact and intentionality with our school population. So hoping, great conversation we had last week about that. We'll have another draft in front of the committee next week and hoping to get the board some eyes on that at the February meeting. And also important to note, thank you to the flexibility of the board members on the education committee next month. I do need to reschedule that from the 9th to the 2nd. So that will be held 1 week earlier in February. Right before the Christmas break, we did, the principals and I, and also, Mrs. Ricketts, Mrs. Shields, our instructional coach at the elementary school, we engaged in a school-wide leadership support day. So we got together at both campuses. In the morning, we were at the secondary school. In the afternoon, we were in the elementary school. We collaboratively reviewed some data together, the PA Future Ready Index, PBOS results. We looked at the teacher and the principal effectiveness rubrics, educator effectiveness frameworks from the state. What does the state say makes high quality educators and principals? And we also conducted some cross-campus walkthroughs, specifically looking for student engagement look-fors, where our students actively participating and learning characterized by collaboration and intellectual engagement, where teachers providing time for teacher and group talk, and does student talk equal or exceed teacher talk? All indicators that we know support student engagement, and student engagement is a huge indicator of student achievement. So some really great conversations and discussion that day, working to collaboratively across campuses together. And then to follow up on that, over the past 2 weeks, the principals and I have been doing some work on differentiated supervision. What does it look like to give feedback to our teachers? How often are we visiting classrooms? How often are we engaging in formal observations? The feedback loop, or the act of providing feedback, is an accelerant to student achievement. So it's very important that we're intentional about where we're spending our time, and the feedback that we're giving teachers and staff, so that it is actionable and it's responsive and it's cohesive across classrooms. So excited to continue that work with them over the next few weeks. And then lastly, just a few shout outs. The PBIS program at the elementary school is on fire. Student behavior is flourishing this year. Brittany's brought a great spark to her position. Students are excited to earn rewards, to be recognized. A shout out to our ESL teachers. WIDA testing is a huge undertaking when we have over 200 ESL students across 2 campuses. So WIDA testing has been going very smoothly over the last couple weeks and will continue for the next couple weeks. And then lastly, a shout out at our secondary school. They're continuing to add more after school programs for our students to participate in, and really expanding the extended learning opportunities that our students have.
And they want more.
Yes.
And can I just say that our security guard, when he was doing rounds at the elementary school, has reminded us many times how well behaved the kids are at the elementary school. Stop trying to steal.
And that's all that I have for today.
Thank you so much for this. Any questions, comments on this, the CEO report? Nope. Thank you, Melissa. You're welcome. Okay, let's move to the principal offices. And first tonight, we have the elementary school report, Corey and Brittany.
Thank you, Dr. Palumbo. Picking up with that attendance conversation, we did see a drop in attendance during the month of December. It was about 4% lower than what we were seeing. Knowing that we had some facility issues, we had to close, we had to go virtual, and also leading up to a long holiday. It's not super surprising, but it is something that is on our radar right now to get us closer to that 95, 96% that we have been seeing.
Looking at the academic achievement, benchmark testing for marking period 2 did start at the beginning of January. We are wrapping up makeup testing now, and we'll have more data for that at our next meeting next month. In regards to discipline, 1 level 2 for December. We did have 5 level 1s, and that is down from November where we had 10 level 1s. Our positive office referrals are, like Mrs. May said, flourishing. We were at 89 in November, and even with the shutdown and the virtual days in December, we were up to 145 for the month of December. So those student behaviors have been being praised even with those inconsistent days that we saw in December. And then you can see, on the EBIS newsletter that I send out monthly, wrapping up December, then 2025, I did a year in review along with the month of December, and you can see from September or August to December 31st, we had 402 positive offers referrals to date. So they are loving it. We are seeing positive student behaviors. The teachers are truly enjoying praising these students for this good behavior, and it's building good classroom management in the classroom, and those relationships are being built. So we're excited and hope that it continues on even as the school year comes to a wrap.
With our college and career focus, we have been focusing on fourth grade with those college and career lessons, also the safer, smarter lessons. And fingers crossed that Nutripoli Bank can come in tomorrow, third time's the charm. We've already had them scheduled and rescheduled a couple times this year. So hopefully they can come in, then we can report on them next month. I do have some pictures from our Spanish spelling bee, which we had this year before the winter break instead of the end of the year. And then also I did include a small little image of a parent workshop that we held. It was between our school counselor, Mrs. Zelinsky, and one of our Spanish teachers, Ms. Tullier, and it focused on engaging families in conversations about family traditions, looking at children behavior before the holiday, any parent concerns that they have, just to bring to our attention that we could better support as a school, or with Maria, who is from the CHC. And we are planning for a second follow-up. IT has been helping these two staff members put together like a little trailer to send out to parents to try to get them interested. For professional development, we did a micro writing activity, and those brief writing activities that are low stakes opportunities for students to build proficiency and work just with the writing and their confidence. We did them as the staff. We took them back, and there have already been a bunch of teachers who have been trying them and letting us know that, I'm doing this, I'm trying it, and we're seeing some success with it. Grade level and common planning meetings, we are continuing that, whether it be myself, Mrs. Ricketts, Mrs. Shields, our instructional coach. They're getting some combination of all three of us when we are planning and we're meeting and we're discussing what they're seeing in those core classes, and also bringing up some student discipline that may be lingering and preventing them from being as successful as possible. Something that one of our solutions committees is in the middle of working on, they're calling it Coffee and Convo. Many years ago, it was Second Cup of Coffee, but we're just looking to have that opportunity to engage with parents who are dropping off in the morning, just to provide them some additional resources, materials, looking to see how that goes at the end of the month. So hopefully it's a good turnout, and then we can report more on that. Celebrations, there are a lot, because a lot happened at the elementary school in the month of December. Ms. Davila and Ms. Tullier, they did rearrange their Spanish spelling bee, not just the time of year, but we normally use the cafeteria. Well, the cafeteria was not accessible, so we had to put it in our, I'll say, PE area, but they made it work. The kids loved it. It was a great day for them. And then, from anyone from the elementary staff, food service, facilities, IT, and anyone who really helped support that transition from in-person to virtual and vice versa. It was really an all hands on deck, and we could not have done it without all that support. And I already mentioned Ms. Tullier and Mrs. Zelinsky for planning that parent workshop. And then we did have a handful of staff members who came in on a regular basis when we were virtual. Ms. Stanley, Mrs. Shields, Ms. Davila, Ms. Tullier, and Mrs. Vicenti. They were assisting distribute the lunch and the breakfast to the students and the families who were coming in. They were also helping with the laptop distribution. So again, it was an all hands on deck, and I thank them for their willingness to come in and get back to our students.
Yeah, so we're all systems go right now? Yes? As far as building.
I'll say we're headed in that direction. All systems go. That saying, don't put the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
But we're much better this month than we were last month.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Brittany, for the elementary report. Any other questions or comments for the elementary report? Thank you. Let's go to the middle school reports. please.
Alrighty, so I'm starting with celebrations and shout outs. I want to start off with Mr. Rose, who is our art teacher. I had some common planning and pulled in our unified arts teachers to get some input from them and has spread the instructional load across all of the content areas. And he shared an interesting class that he was taking. That he was doing some research on interdisciplinary collaborations. And so he collaborated with the science teacher, did an art project that complemented her science content, and the students that participated in that experiment, so to speak, or that class that he had, showed an increase of an average of 12% increase on their science test score in that unit. So, he wrote the conversation with the unified arts teachers really kind of helped propel some thinking around how we really truly collaborate across all content areas, especially for our middle school kids. So huge shout out to him, and had some further conversations with other teachers since then. So
What was the
yes.
content? What did they do?
It was, they're doing plant cells and animal cells, so he did, they did clay sculptures of the cells. So it was just another opportunity to apply vocabulary and make connections and enjoy science, maybe in a class that I don't, I usually like art class, and maybe I don't like science so much, but I, got to experience some success with that. And actually, our two language teachers have been, collaborating to do some stuff as well. And even our music teacher is excited about collaboration as well. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I wanted to give a shout out to Miss Morales. This is Mary Lou Morales. She is one of our IAs in the building. I remember her first week, she was just terrified to be in any classroom, to be alone. She wasn't sure she was gonna do a good job, and she's literally the welcome wagon at the middle school and make sure that every new staff member that comes in is well taken care of and receives all of the support they need. Helps fancy up their room for them before they show up on their first day, and she's just a tremendous support person herself. So shout out to her. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Fritz and Miss Fritz and Mr. Morris. They're our sixth grade team, and they're kind of down in a hallway by themselves now, especially since I moved to the second floor. But they, as a first year teacher and somebody who is currently a MedX employee, had a little bit of bumpy start this year, trying to figure out how to work together, but they have come together so nicely, and their kids are doing phenomenally. You can walk into those classrooms on any day of the week, 2 days before Christmas break, and they were in it to win it. So huge shout out to them. Miss Lozano, our new counselor, she's been picking up all of the stuff from Miss Johnson and is contacted all of our career fair people for April already and is well on the way with that. And also Miss McCahey, who is our ESL teacher, just to kind of follow up with what Miss Mesa shared earlier. She really came out of the gate strong this year to be prepared for WIDA. And it's really gone off without a hitch in the school so far. So good stuff there. And we're going to see some good stuff. She's really been tuned into the data and what we need to do to move our English proficiency students. So as always, I have my data dashboard. You can take a look at that. We've had 19 middle school students with perfect attendance in December alone, or I'm sorry, up through December. So that's pretty exciting. 19 doesn't seem like a big number, but they're middle school kids. We are having regular attendance meetings as part of our instructional leadership team with high school to address our frequent tardies and absences. As Ms. Mace was speaking, I think one of the things that we need to be mindful of is when we look at that excessive absence report, we could probably pull that report just for our students with disabilities and really do a better job tracking that data specifically, and in addition to the whole. So we can narrow the focus around that data a little more intentionally, probably. Or maybe I'm making a report up in my head that doesn't exist.
It exists.
In my academics, we've been really focusing on greater alignment to the PSSA test matrix, what is heavily weighted, what our students need to know at the grade level, and moving away from we have to teach students below grade level. We need to raise the bar. They need to be receiving specific, explicit, systematic grade level instruction that we are being assessed on. I'm visiting classrooms daily with a specific lens. Sometimes it's on what the teachers are, what their PBIS focus might be for the day. Sometimes it's engagement strategies. I have started formal observations. Teachers will be receiving 1 to 2 formal observations by the end of the year. And we did take benchmarks. You can see that we did see not any growth, but we kind of slowed we had a little bit of an uptick, or either at or slightly below where we started the year. But from last quarter, we did see an increase in a couple grade levels, stayed stagnant elsewhere. Attendance was definitely looking better in December. Our referrals are looking better on the whole in December. So definitely a big change from where our referral numbers were in September and October to where we are now. So I know it was a short month, but the kids were actually, they were pretty on it. So it did not come from positive office referrals. But that is not what is causing our swing, but we can definitely do a better job with that. And then I just added a couple of things on the benchmark as well, because I know that we are very mindful of growth, being that it is one of our TSI indicators. So we did show an average increase across the board in ELA and math, except in 8th grade math. We saw a little bit of a decrease there. And I really want to give a shout out to our special education students, because if you're looking at the average increase and then the average increase of special ed students, statistically, our special ed students are carrying our gains right now, which I think is huge, because as a longtime educator, to look at a special ed student's scores and see no growth over the course of a year is painful and inappropriate. So to see that our special ed kids are really making such gains is fantastic. Discipline, our common planning focus around discipline is decreasing targeted behaviors. So taking a look at the behaviors, specifically classroom disruptions. After we came back from break, we revisited classroom expectations as if it were the first week of school again. We do have some small groups that are starting up with CHC in February. And then in terms of college and career, we're preparing for our career fair right now. And we do have some classes. Ms. Coxell's class has been taking lots of virtual field trips to lots of Ivy League schools. And her kids have been getting a kick out of looking at all the old buildings. So that's where we're at in middle school. So short month, not a lot to report.
Yeah, well, now we're focused on middle school. Do we see that your averages are more proportional to, grade level? In terms of the overall performance or time in school? In other words, are the increases, are we just improving grade over grade, or if, the students have been with us for 5 years versus 1 year? That's what I'm, you understand what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah, I do ask the students a lot if they went to Roberto Clemente Elementary, and it does help me frame a conversation with them, because I know what they have been exposed to. So for example, their social emotional program there, if I can make connections, say, oh, do you remember the Peace Path, or do you remember Chili? Like, oh yeah, I remember how we used to solve those problems. So it comes back, it escapes their brain when they leave. And I'm sure academics is the same. So I don't have a pulse I don't have this data disaggregated by who we've had since elementary school and who is new to us. I have a hunch that there is definitely a range there.
Right, yeah, and so we're admitting students to almost every grade,
Mhm.
but not at a uniform level. Tends to be more than a younger level and a little bit less of the older, but that's what I was wondering. Are we gaining any advantage for having had them longer Okay, or is it just like an age? Kind of an age thing, okay. That's it.
Are there any correlations between those grades, let's say in math, compared to the scores on math? Any correlation, you know, like students who tend to have high grades tend to do better, or not necessarily, or is that a data that issue?
I think there's still some inconsistencies in terms of grading. Grades encompass a lot of things and not just mastery of content. So, you know, students receive part of their grade is employability points. So participation, preparedness, you know, college readiness, kind of stuff like that. Assessments, again, you know, we can be looking at students, I can be looking at a student with students with disabilities or EL students who are receiving appropriate accommodations and sometimes modifications on an assessment, so I may get it, you know, the grades don't always match a proficiency level. So we do look, you know, and I've had a lot of conversations with the teachers about this, you know, we just took our benchmark assessments when we came back. It wasn't a great idea probably to have it the first week we came back, but also kind of
Such as
wanted,
a school calendar.
right, I really, you know, wanted the data to have some conversations around before we roll into third quarter. It's never an ideal time to assess kids. We have to do our best of motivating them and giving them a sense of purpose around that assessment. Middle school kids are usually pretty transparent. And remember, we sat here before and talked about motivation. They're still talking about that. If kids tell me, well, it doesn't count towards anything except shows us how the teachers are doing. So when we're still fighting that mindset with the kids, you know, they're not demonstrating their true potential right now. So it's hard to say. There's not a correlation, I don't think. I think you can take a small population of the students who are super conscientious students, you know, with a really strong work ethic, and they're gonna, you know, give you their grades and they're gonna give you a good performance on their benchmarks. But we've also seen students who now the benchmark's the time for them to kind of show us like that they've made a change, or that, you know, sometimes some kids are motivated by the honor roll, you know. A lot of kids after report cards come out like they are so bummed. And they're determined to do better because they want to get honor roll or they want to get high honors. So it's just a matter of kind of making it all matter for us to really get data that correlates. I think all the data tells us something, it just doesn't all tell us the same thing.
Because I know there's some correlation with the GPA, but I was just more wondering about the math class that they're taking, or they took, and now they're getting tested, like maybe algebra 1. What was their grade compared to these scores? 'Cause
Yeah, I think in some classes, I would see a stronger correlation. There are definitely math teachers who are more honed in on grade level content and providing an appropriate scaffold, and some teachers who will try to close the gaps first before getting to the grade level content, and you end up with two different finishing points. So I think if you have somebody who really is working on grade level mastery in their classroom, then you tend to get a closer correlation on a benchmark assessment, provided all other factors are there and kids are motivated to demonstrate their performance. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Your charts, by the way,
Yes,
just trying to understand, so. Typical red, yellow, green means red, yellow, green.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'd like to see it go from, you know, you don't want to see red, but it'll go from red to yellow to green. In some cases, you get maybe a reversal. Is that something that triggers action, and whom is the action triggered?
So I share this data. This data is part of my common planning document that my teachers see. I let them know that this is the data we're accountable to, and yes, red should trigger conversations. And it does. We're getting a little better at that. I try not to micromanage the common planning all the time because I can't always be in the common planning, so I really script them long agendas. And I usually try to frame their conversations and discussion points around where there are barriers.
Yeah, it's obviously for me concerning just to, on a time basis to see who can go from in the direction of green to red to yellow. I mean, green to yellow to red. So it's, want to see it go the other way.
100%, yeah.
Right. All right. Got it.
Thank you, Middleton. Good chairman. Any other questions, comments for Middleton? Let's move on to high school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd like to start with some shout outs. First thing that I would like to shout out that's not on here. For those of you who didn't hear when I came in, we competed in a friendly tournament versus Lehigh Valley Academy for a chess tournament this evening. And I'm happy to say that we took first and second place in that tournament. We're pretty excited. So shout out to the chess team. It was a pretty fun time all the way around. I have some other shout outs here as well. Seniors, most of them have completed their senior projects last week. They presented, they had essays, they had research. So those were completed last week, and I want to give a shout out to Dr. Land, Miss Reynolds and Mr. Burgermeister, who they're the teachers who primarily have seniors, and they were the main ones who helped to organize and facilitate the projects. Also want to give a shout out to Miss Rivera, our athletic coordinator, and our new coach, Coach Lee, for getting our basketball program started. They started practice on January 5th. So far, it's been going pretty well. Kids are really into it. They're being held accountable to their work and school and being on time to practices already. They have a weekly check-in that they need to have signed and filled out by their teachers. And so they've been really being held to account and really enjoying it so far. How many students will participate? We have about 40 kids who signed up. We don't have that many currently participating though because of academic and or behavioral issues. But yeah, we have
Between 20 and 30.
yeah, it's between 20 and 30. We have enough. The idea is we have enough to roster a JV team and a varsity team. Yeah. Attendance for December, we did have some slight improvements overall in December. Still not where we want them to be. It's definitely an area that we've talked about in our instructional leadership meetings and different plans to reach out and to make sure these kids are getting to school. This
I'm
month.
gonna, with that, again, I'm curious. So we're now into the second quarter. For those kind of attendance issues, is there any triage to understand what the primary cause of transportation? And we have a primary cause that we can kind of attack to out a percent or two.
One of the, yeah, so I think part of it is, it has to do with, a part of what we've been trying to do is making those contacts with parents to see, what's going on. What are the reasons why we are, these kids are not getting to the building. And trying to, emphasize the importance of them getting to school. In high school or in the building in general, we've seen a lot of tardiness becoming a bigger issue lately. Some of that is a lot of the kids who are tardy are typically kids who walk to school, so it's part of it. So yeah, these are all areas that we've kind of started to look into more. For academic, academic achievement, this month we've been focusing in our common plannings in the high school on domain 3C, which is student engagement. How we can increase active engagement in our classrooms has been kind of a big focus. We've talked a lot about kind of defining what active engagement looks like, how we can get there, coming up with strategies. Talking about, building up a culture of going off of our profile for a successful learner. What does a scholarly student look like? Kind of defining that more with our students and making that more of an expectation. We've come a long way in terms of things like, what does a respectful student look like, contributor, collaborator. We have to do more for scholarly, what it looks like to be scholarly in our school. And these are definitely ongoing discussions that we've been having. Continuing to do, daily walkthroughs of classrooms, being more consistent in walkthroughs and giving feedback in a timely manner to teachers. Also formal observations have already begun in high school. 2 have been completed so far. And each teacher will receive 1 to 2 formal observations by the end of this school year. I do have some preliminary data here, which has not fully been reviewed yet, so unfortunately, I don't have a ton of info on it. We still have makeups to do and some more review of the data. It does look like on a quick look through that we've stayed more or less in the same spot, which isn't ideally what we are looking for. But we are going to be looking in those areas where we can get the most bang for our buck in terms of showing student growth. And it's something that coming up this week and next week in common planning, we will be going through as a staff at the high school level. Infraction report for December, we had 15 level 2s, 4 level 3s. Overall, we haven't had any major kind of behavioral or disciplinary situations in the high school. They've all been pretty well behaved, and doing what they need to be doing. There's some college and career updates on there from Miss Ashworth, what she's doing with high school students. And then we have next week, we have professional development from the IU for ESL accommodations, which is a big area that we want to make sure that we're doing what we need to do there and that we're meeting the needs of our ESL population at our school. We're also going to have training tomorrow from Star 360 for our benchmarking on how to better analyze our data and make sure that we're making sense of the data that we're receiving. So that should be helpful for us.
I just done some math, so we can talk offline, but so the populations for reading and math by grade are not equal and significantly lower for math. I don't know. 11th grade seems to have more people in math than.
Some of that is we still have kids who still need to take the tests, who were not there for one round of testing, but were there for the other round.
My brain immediately went to where they go.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
What?
I started did the same things.
That's the number of students, right? So where'd they go?
Yeah, they,
So this is, and just, this is my question. We usually seem to do, people kind of laser in on 12th grade,
yeah,
that's great.
yeah,
So we're basically saying, when it comes to reading, 25 that was tested below, nobody's proficient, no one's advanced, they're basic. And then math is 24 below.
Right.
We seem to do a pretty good job, or at least we report on seniors being accepted into colleges, and so it seems like that next look, to me, it seems like if you just look at these numbers,
yeah.
there's not one senior that's academically performing in any way. I mean,
That's not a very broad brush,
yeah,
I'm doing, but just looking at these numbers.
yeah. Yeah,
But we do, but it seems like there's, I don't know, there's like, I don't.
There's capacity, there's absolutely
Yes.
capacity within our students, and it, you know, it really comes down to, and we've talked about it at length at the board level, and it, you know, it falls down to our expectations around testing, right? Are we gonna say this is okay or not? And if, you know, we can see how many minutes did it take a student to take a test? If they're done in 4 minutes, well, Chuck, we're gonna schedule a time for you to do this after school.
yeah,
You know, we have to hold a rigorous testing environment for our students, and when I see this also, I'm seeing that, you know, our students are not demonstrating what they know to us, and that shouldn't be something that we accept from them.
yeah, and to kind of add on that, we have a, you know, a list of kids, and a lot of them are seniors who they're finishing this test in under 10 minutes. That's clearly showing that they're not taking it serious, and they're gonna end up needing to retake it again, because they're not performing where they,
It may be
Should be.
back to Alex's comment when he was talking about the correlation
Yeah.
of the math. So as far as GPA or grades, I mean, is every 12th grader like failing that subject? Or-
not everyone. No,
But you know, I mean,
No, I
when
know.
you look at these numbers,
Right.
it's a little bit
Yeah.
stark,
There has to be more,
a little bit stark.
we need to work on demonstrating a stronger alignment.
Yeah.
Standardized testing results are not the end all be all, right? That is not the goal of education, but it definitely demonstrates the rigor of the teaching and learning that's happening in our classrooms. And if, you know, last year, for example, we only had 30 students qualify for summer school at the secondary level, but our scores were the lowest they've ever been. That's a huge disconnect right there.
Right.
If our students are demonstrating that they're not meeting state standards, but they all have A's, that's something that we need to really dig into and better define from a grading perspective. So that it is more representative of what our students are demonstrating on a day-to-day basis. Now, should every student be failing because they have a below basic? Absolutely not. But there definitely should not be such a juxtaposition between the two. And unfortunately, that is relearning a lot of practices that have kind of been ritualized, especially at the secondary level. And it's something that Josh and Tamara are both very aware of and have identified as some areas for their attention. And it's gonna take redefining what does our grading system look like at that building? What does employability skills look like and sound like, and how many points can a student earn for that?
That's
So
what-
that it isn't inflating their grade to the extreme.
That's, listening to you speak, that was kind of the next thing that I was thinking about. You don't want to grade inappropriately, or internal grades are high.
Yeah.
But then you look at something like this, and it's very clear that they're unprepared for their next level in life. You know, there should be a little bit more correlation.
Yeah, all right, so, and I happen to agree with you on moving in that direction, but there's part of me, because data is data, right? Is what they're being tested. Really, you know, the standardized testing is fun because they print one thing and give it to everybody, you all take it. Is it measuring the right thing? So I'm always skeptical of what a standardized test is measured. Now, in a sense, okay, we all took the same test. You can compare our grades for that test. But then the question winds up being, are you measuring something that's relevant to everyone that's here? I think and, you know, we need to be cognizant of the fact that we're subject to the standardized testing. I get that. But to your point, it's, you know, I don't want to artificially, you know, move them along when they're really not ready, or, you know, is there some feedback to the standardized testing or something supplemental that would allow us to truly get a better measure of their performance relative to their age group across the area, across the recipient colleges. Right, we're supposed to be more like a college prep kind of, that's what we're intending to do. So, yeah, I feel the same discord. And yet, what's the meaning of these numbers? Are they driving the right behavior? Are we measuring the right thing? Are we compensating in other ways so that they truly have some preparedness? So I see the numbers, but they're numbers, and I don't see. We've got a gap that either it's a gap to what's needed, or it's a gap to what our performance is versus what it should be. That's where I'm.
I think the concern is at any school. It's not, oh, it's us.
Yeah.
It isn't. It's reading the vocabulary of the test. A
Well,
lot
yeah,
of the students
and
can't understand the statement. How can you answer it and what do you think? They know the answer, but
Right.
they don't recognize it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the standardized tests tell us things about test taking stamina, test taking strategies,
Yeah.
some content knowledge and mastery, but to the point of the education committee, I think that's where we really find a landing spot to help make connections, because once we have a solid curriculum that we can follow, then we can have common assessments. And then we can have classroom-based data where we're all looking at really common, timely data that the kids are held accountable to. Because they do care about their grades, they don't care about a standardized assessment, but that at least helps us to understand where their gaps are and build their confidence so that going into a test, they feel prepared and maybe a little bit more incentivized to do better for themselves. Our kids thrive off of positive feedback. We're seeing it at the elementary school. We hear all the time that what they want is positive referrals, positive calls home. They want celebrations for top scores and for increases. So they do care. It's just kind of harnessing that standard, just the stigma of standardized assessments. They're biased. They are never well timed. And if we had a good common assessment anchored to a rigorous curriculum, I think we'd be in a better spot. So I'm excited for where those conversations are going. Cause I know for me, that's been a missing piece. And I am a little jealous of the elementary school that has a systematic collection of data to look at that informs instruction. And I think it's just the nature of secondary school too, that data and the learning outcomes in all of the classes are really all over the place. You have an architecture class and a personal finance class and an ELA class and, a trigonometry class. And it is, to have common data and have an informed discussion that is comprehensive, I think really comes down to some
Yeah.
commonest school-based assessments.
Yeah, it's a score. And we look at it, we can't ignore it. It's just one data point
Exactly.
in the whole big picture. So I think that we have to put, until we find a collection of those data points to give us the full picture. Not that we're going to ignore it, but
It's still an
it's
E,
not
right?
the
It's
full,
like, oh, it's
it's not the full picture.
the good cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, and the other. They all have to work together.
Do the students know how they've been?
I think some teachers do share that and do some goal setting, and I will tell you, I mean, I don't know what you're, like, as soon as the kids are done taking the tests, they're in our office.
Yeah.
What did I get?
Yeah.
So they do wanna know, they do wanna do better, and if they knew their specific score going into it, would they probably do better? I mean, our kids play video games, they're all about beating scores, so.
And the reason I'm asking is because when I look at the 12th graders, again, just to choose one of them. If I'm in that class, in that 12th grade class, and I hear every single one of you scored below basic, I would be like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Do they know? Have they been told, like in a whole school base, hey, this is how you live? And what do they say?
The general response is that they don't care.
Yeah.
They're very apathetic about it.
Yeah, which may also
Because it
explain the
doesn't-
difference, but,
Yeah.
yeah, it may explain the difference between these numbers and, you know, the graduation rate and acceptance rate and all the other things, right? It was. So, yeah, I always take standardized testing with a grain of salt, because it's a day of, you know, I would much rather be playing baseball than doing this nonsense, because it doesn't mean anything.
So how's your assessment?
Yeah,
As an example, not picking on the 12th graders. But, so when you assess the 12th graders. Once again, so, you know, there's the standardized test, so we all talked about, you know, with these, I mean, this is down, but I mean, what. How much, what we emphasize in the standardized test, do you view the students as, I mean, do you look at the 12th grade students and say to yourself, okay, you know what? You know, this is not acceptable, this isn't what we want, but are you relatively confident that a much better percentage of the 12th grade students are, you know, on course or where they should be as 12th grade students, once again, prepared to take that next level of either higher academics or life in general? Or are we really concerned?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a good amount of the 12th graders, I don't think that this score is very good indicator of where they're actually at. I think a fair bit of them are, you know, prepared, they're,
So you could confidently pull a number of 12th graders
Yeah.
in, you could say to them, you know what, guys, you're capable.
yeah,
This is not really
Yeah.
demonstrating who you are.
yeah,
Whether you like to take the test or whether you think it's worthwhile or not. There's a number of them you could pull into your office if you wanted to and just say, you're better than this.
yeah, for sure, yeah.
Well, I think when you look at more than half of them have been accepted to college or trade school
That was my
already.
initial comment.
You know, they're not gonna
Yeah.
take people who can't read and write. You know, they have to show a certain level of proficiency to be accepted, so,
And then that's something they care about.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's, so.
Ninth graders are
That's
doing it.
mid-year.
Yesenia. Hey, Yesenia.
Hi, guys. Talking about the low grades, I think this is something more about society. It's like he was saying that when they asked them, Borak, they said they don't care. My son is in 12th grade, and it's hard for me to push him, even though that he's home. So we, as a parent, we do the most of it, but the teachers, I think they're doing the work, but it's a student who doesn't have, they don't want it. Because most of them have been accepted. My son has been accepted to 3 college, and that was the first thing he told me. I don't have to do an essay. So something, I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying, but to me, the community is doing the work, but the society is not doing the work for them. So they just want to be over. They do the test, and that's it. I'm finished. Whatever I pass on up, it's fine. So as long as I pass my class, I'm good. It doesn't matter the score like before. Do you guys copy me?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Thank
yes.
you, Yesenia.
Yeah.
We also hear you.
Yeah, we try, but me as a parent and the meeting, I think is more about pushing them more. But when they go out, it's nothing to be pushing for. That's what they think now.
Thank you, Josh, for the report. Any other questions, comment on the high school report? Okay, moving right along, let's go to human resources. Michael, pass the baton to you.
Good evening, everyone, and tonight's HR report. First, we're requesting the board ratification of the following new hires. Robert Lee, boys basketball head coach. Yasleen Rivera, administrative assistant for the middle school. Daryl Butler, boys basketball assistant coach, and Kyrie Ray, as the cook, the new cook. And also, for new current personnel appointments of Caleb Rodriguez as full-time LPN, Kelsey Caravaggio as long-term substitute for second grade, John Grady as an after-school teacher, and Miss Ruth Nunez Gonzalez as an after-school teacher. I'll stop there for a motion.
So you want them all in one group?
These are the hires, yeah, the appointments.
Yeah, motion to approve the new hires as discussed.
Thank you, Gus. We need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Dr. Dolgus, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
I,
Opposed?
No. Abstentions? Motion carried.
Since our last meeting, we had one resignation. I'll stop there for another motion.
So we need an approval of the resignation.
motion to accept the resignation of Ms. Hall.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Kathy, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
We have 3 employment agreement addendums for staff that have agreed to take additional duties for the school that need ratification. Lovely.
Lauren Usher and Michael Boyko, those are addendums. They'll each be teaching an extra class, an extra elective as part of the high school curriculum. We had to shift some classes around. And then Lindsay Santana is to assume extra duties at the elementary school for students that may need help
Personal care.
with personal care.
I don't even know what, how to make a motion. What's the motion that you need?
To
agree,
for agreement addendums.
Good.
Employment agreement addendum.
Okay, oh, that's almost too late.
Was that a motion, Gus?
No, it wasn't.
Thank you, John.
Motion to approve the addendums for the three organizations.
Okay,
Thank you, John. We need a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor of the motion for the employment agreement addendums, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
We continue our research for a part-time instructional assistant and the newly vacant full-time instructional assistant at the elementary level. We also started our recruitment for a long-term substitute Spanish teacher at the elementary level. We made an offer for a cafeteria aide and it has been accepted. We're just waiting for necessary documentation. We hope to formally report them on our next board meeting. Unfortunately, the facilities assistant manager position that was offered and accepted last month was withdrawn over the weekend, so we are reinstating recruitment for this vacancy. And lastly, we're asking the board of trustees to take action. And lastly, we're asking the board of trustees to take action on the new direct deposit change policy, which was presented last month. This policy will strengthen safeguards and align with Pennsylvania wage payment and collection law requirements. I'll stop there for a motion.
So this offered withdrawn, is there any other? That they just didn't follow through?
Yeah. They did the whole everything and that was it. Yeah, they did follow through. Yeah, they followed part of starting. Yeah,
Yeah.
just to give us a start date. Got all their background checks and everything was squared away. We were just waiting to start date.
Thank you.
you need a motion for direct deposit?
So, yes.
The direct.
Just to make a motion to approve the policy for the deposit.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you, Gus. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
In the effort to maintain RCCS in compliance with state law, the HR committee is presenting for its first reading a revised employee address code policy and a revised RCCS employee handbook. These revisions will align RCCS policy and procedures to the creating a respectful and open world of natural hair, aka Crown Act, that was enacted on November 25th and goes into effect this Saturday, January 24th. And there's no action needed on the.
These are first readings.
Yep.
For the policy and the handbook.
Correct. Sorry.
Thank you.
And that is all on the HR report. Act.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions, comments for the HR report? All right, let's move right, let's go to the business office, Chuck.
The financial reports were reviewed by the finance committee. We did receive Parkland School District's 363 form, which leaves just downtown school district. We'll follow up with them again by the end of the month, maybe we'll get it. No? So we are still billing the school district at the 24-25 rates until we then is going. As far as the assigned funds, we did release about 30.
Is that gonna hurt us if they're delaying?
Well,
Or if we get a new
it's
rate?
not, it would hurt cash flow. In our case, it's not hurting our cash flow. I mean, both state and federal budgets were passed, so that money is starting to flow.
Okay.
It's just a matter of,
First of all, have to.
yeah, it's
Reconcile.
yeah, most likely. it'll be
Yeah, I just,
increase.
I don't wanna fall short because they're waiting, they're building the sums.
No, if there would be an immediate impact, it would be cash flow, but we're not in a situation like that, so. We did release about $23,000 in assigned funds. We're about halfway down the first page of the business report. So we did receive the bill for that feasibility study that was done spring and the summer, somewhere around there. So we did release some of those funds from the capital expenditure project fund. And then the boiler line repair for the stipulations in our lease, we covered $13,000 of that $28,000 repair. So we did release those funds out of the board designated emergency fund, which the board had approved last month. The payment list also went out, $74,000 in disbursements. I will certainly take any questions on any of those reports.
So do we have?
You did mention him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for secretary and list for submitted.
Thank you, Gus. Second.
Second.
Thank you, John. All in favor of approval of the motion with December payment list, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
We do have two grant applications that we are looking to submit by the end of this month. You'll find that information on the top of the second page of the business report. First one being 25-26 school safety and mental health grant. Again, this is the funds that run through PCCD. It is a $70,000 grant, and this $70,000 budget can really just cover the social worker position costs. Again, we did have that position running through the 23-24 grant, which ended in December. So this grant would be kind of picking up. Questions on the school safety grant? Nope. The other grant, that would be the 25-26 Ready to Learn grant. These are monies that we've been receiving for quite some time. See the breakdown of that budget. This will be a retroactive grant. Going back to July 1st of 2025, funds have to be spent by the end of June.
These are money we have, not that we're waiting for the receipt.
Well, we have to we have to submit the application.
Oh,
So,
Transfers had previously.
correct. So the board would just need to approve us submitting those grants applications.
I would like the motion to approve the school safety and mental health plan as well as the ready to go plan as presented.
Thank you, John. We need a second on the motion, please.
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor of the motion for the school safety and mental health and the ready to learn grants, please say aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries.
So we did both.
Both of them together.
Right?
Yeah.
Good. So,
No. I mean, you could write
You
each
said
one
said the
separate.
name
Right.
of each one.
Yeah.
And we have, 3 contracts up for approval tonight. Actually, all 3 are renewals, so they're contracts that we've had in place and we're just looking for renewal. Terms, other than the dates are, well, none of the rates have increased from the, agreements that have, ended, and then the agreements that we're looking to get approved tonight, again, other than the dates. But the breakdown of those contracts, as well as some information goes, is on the second page of the business report. So we're just looking for approval in those contracts with me. I'll certainly take any questions on them.
You need them by contract or you want to?
I would do it by contract. I would probably do it by contract.
Individual.
Yeah.
Okay.
individually.
Motion to approve the psychologist services.
Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, John. All in favor of the school psychologist services motion, please say aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We need a motion for the,
Motion to approve the behavioral support service contract.
thank you, John. We need a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. School uniform.
And a final motion to approve the school uniform agreement as presented.
Thank you, John. We need a second on that motion, please.
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Okay,
And then lastly, just on the third page is the business report, specifically that last bullet under facilities update. As you know, we've been getting the boiler replaced at elementary school. So the new boiler was installed. Again, as we kind of anticipated, it's a brand new boiler that is now working in conjunction with infrastructure that's 50 years old. So we already had a line leak. We had to add another domestic line, and we have some steam traps that are leaking in an old building like that. There are probably some steam traps, we don't even know where they're at. So we're working through these issues. As of today, the boiler was running, wasn't throwing a lot of heat, but apparently they did not want to run the boiler at the capacity in which it would throw the heat we will be used to in the building because it's a new boiler. So they're incrementally going to increase the pressure of the steam boiler, as opposed to just like cranking the steam right up to what it should be, and then all of a sudden you got. So, well, it is the lines, exactly. So, they will probably have to come out at least one more time to increase it, but at least it's.
What's your
running and-
temperature?
It was actually really warm when we left. Yeah, the temperature was good.
Last week.
Yes.
Yeah, who inspects the food?
So, well, MBI is the one that installed it. I don't know if the state has to come out and inspect. It has to be inspected, and it is part of the contract that MBI is going to be inspected.
Get it inspected. Okay.
Correct. So just a little update on that. At the bottom of page 3, the audit committee will be meeting with the auditors next month. We're draft of the audit. So we should have that by next month. And that last bullet point, I don't have hard copies in your folders because I didn't get them yet, but sometime by the end of this month, I'll be sending everyone
Oh,
here.
no.
our face.
your
Favorite
favorite, so if you're sitting at this table, you will be expected to complete one and I'll.
And it was part of our charter renewal. We have to have it by May the 1st because we are expected to submit them to the school district
With
in
this new-
compliance with the May 1st deadline, so.
So between now and May first, the sooner you get it into me, the less you gotta hear from me, so.
We all want gold star.
I will send out
Get
an
it.
email. I'll send out an email the next week or so with the fillable forms.
So these forms are our standardized first.
Yes.
Right.
We don't do that on the time before.
Except they count.
Proficiency rate.
So, we're gonna run a table of everyone and their progress on it, and we're gonna let the 12th grade inspect it and where it is.
Definitely be fair. I know, I like that.
I'm
Okay,
gonna
so
drive,
keep
I'm
going.
gonna drive my in-storm first.
Yeah, I think the front one has been thrown down, but. All right. Any questions for the business office or the business report for Chuck? Thank you. Let's go to public input. Any comments from our digital folks or our three-dimensional folks? Seeing none. Thank you for our board members that were here in the digital world. We are appreciative. Any new business?
Two things for new business. One is at the February meeting, we have to elect board officers. So if anyone is interested in serving, who hasn't served and is part of the current cabinet, I'd be happy to talk to you about what my consultation looks like with the cabinet, how we work together throughout the year. I'm sure any of the current cabinet would be happy to discuss with any potential or prospects of anyone who would like to serve, but those positions need to be voted in at the February meeting. And then the second part for new business is just January is Board Member Appreciation Month. So I just want to thank the board for their support of me in this position, the continued support of our school. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you, for a pleasure. You're welcome.
Good to work with.
Enjoy it. Anything else under new business?
I'm just gonna say, don't feel like the board should remain the same. If you would like to, I won't even argue. If you want to. There's no speech or anything. That's it.
You just know you can't be missing at that meeting.
We'll be taken under advisement. Thank you very much.
And I was speaking for a friend. Consider yourself a friend, that's it.
Yeah.
I think, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thank you. All in favor? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you for all that attending in Zoom. Take care out there.
Thanks, everybody.
Send us some warm